The suspended streets protest against the Special Anti-Robbery Squad (SARS) unit of the Nigerian police has continued to receive mixed reactions from the international community. After many celebrities joined the advocacy, Nigerian youth had protested against years of horror stories of brazen extortion, illegal detentions, and cases of illegal murdering of Nigerians, mostly youth, by the notorious police unit called SARS, at the hands of local police demanding the government to scrap this police notorious unit. EndSars hashtag trended not only in Nigeria, but has continued to brew up in the United Kingdom, Canada, and the United States. The hashtag has remained on Twitter's Nigeria top 10 trends table since the unfortunate incident occurred. Another dimension to the protest entirely was the coming of a group known as Anonymous, an international group of anonymous cyber activities also joined in the campaign. The furor over the EndSars was packed after graphic footage showing officers from the SARS police unit dragging two men from a hotel in Lagos and shooting one of them in the street. Further evidence from the investigation shows that live rounds were indeed fired on peaceful protesters in Lagos, as CNN examined bullet casings found at scene and confirmed to be current, and former Nigerian military sources also confirmed that the bullet casings matched those of the army. The investigation, which has shed new light on the anti-brutality protest, has attracted the attention of the United Kingdom Parliament, currently carrying out investigations while mulling possible sanctions. How has the entire EndSars saga, the fallout, and the ongoing investigation cast Nigeria's security architecture and human rights advocacy in the eyes of the international community? This will be our focus on this episode of The Patriot. Welcome to The Patriot on Television Nigerian, a platform where we discuss critical issues of national importance, begging the question of how much of our country we love. I am Peggy Shandy.
I pledge to Nigeria, my country. So goes the opening lines of the 6-line National Pledge of Nigeria. Today, not a few, whether young or old, merely recite the National Pledge as a matter of routine or tradition, with their hearts being poles apart from the very spirit, creed, and essence of the pledge. Many simply do not understand its purport or feel the import of it, while many others choose to observe the pledge in breach only. Today we have decided to walk on the footpath of the very words of the National Pledge, keeping its vision and essence in our hearts, in our souls, and in our minds.
I pledge to Nigeria, my country,
to be faithful,
loyal, and honest,
to serve Nigeria with all my strength,
to defend her unity,
and uphold her honor and glory.
So help me God. Nigeria, no doubt, will truly be the giant of Africa, developed and well rated in all indices, if her national pledge is treated with sacred obedience. It's on us, it's our duty and responsibility to make this country a better place. Let's live the pledge.
Welcome back and thanks for staying tuned. This is The Patriot on Television Nigerian. And our guest is a man with uncommon intellect, CSP James, retired, a former commander with the defunct SARS, a fraud and security expert. Commander, please, I'd like to welcome you to the Patriot.
It's a pleasure, Mr. Peggy, having me.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, viewers out there, too.
Beautiful. And so the EndSars has become a song around the world, in Nigeria, around, and you worked with SARS. I don't know what is the new name now.
Well, SARS doesn't have a new name again. It's a new unit that is created.
Yeah.
Yes, I served in a unit in SARS for 2 years and some months before I left. It has really become a name that has become a household name in the whole world today.
Exactly.
It has exposed a lot of things about the Nigerian security architecture, just as you said in your introduction. It has also been able to tell the whole world how impatient people have been with police operations. And it has also been able to expose the police to now know that the whole system wasn't just the way Nigerians were expecting them to operate. They were not doing what was expected of them. And maybe laxity also on the part of who were the commanders and leaders of the management team. A lot of things didn't go well, and that is why people came out to now say that SARS should go. But if you look at it, the hashtag EndSars was not just for the ending of SARS alone, it was also for governance, improved in security, improved in welfare of the police. So a lot of things have to happen, and that is where we are today. It's not just all about the EndSars. And the name that has been formed now, the new unit, is called the Special Warfare Tactical Squad. The new team that has been put in place to now kind of combat violent crime instead of the normal thing that SARS was known to have been doing. And that is where we are. So it has brought out another thinking in the police hierarchy. So it's a good thing that people protested. It's good that expressions were made, and it's good that government responded, including the police force also.
Thank you very much, Commander.
Thank you.
So, Commander of SARS is no more SARS. It's SWAT.
Yes, now it's SWAT.
Thank you very much. Let's get talking very critical issues that has some global concerns. Thank you very much for that beautiful introduction and outlook already. But Nigeria is a sovereign state.
Yeah.
And it has also taken steps to handle its crisis internally. Should the UK Parliament be discussing Nigeria's internal affairs in the first place?
Well, when you look at the issues that became the hashtag EndSars, it's not just all about Nigeria alone. It is a global nation. The world is a unit today. It's just whatever you are doing, your neighbors are watching. And what affects Nigeria affects most of the African countries and the European nations also. You have the nationalists who are also working and serving in Nigeria, doing various businesses. So it must be of concern to all sensible foreign nations to ensure that, looking at the population of Nigeria, anything that concerns them here should be of common interest to them. So I think the UK government is doing the right thing. And don't forget that we were colonized by them, even though I don't want to use the word colonization of Nigerians. The independence was also planned and programmed by them, and most of the policies that we generate today in the country were designed by the British government. So it is not out of place for any foreign country to discuss the internal affairs of Nigeria. They are not meddling, they are just discussing the way they can be able to support the governance of this nation. So I think they are right in doing that.
All right, thank you very much, Commander. Very beautiful. I want us to delve a little bit into the situation as currently the CNN is also been reporting what happened exactly. Now, we were thinking that once the EndSars protest was over and the street unrest was controlled, there would have been an implementation of the President and Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces, the President of Nigeria, the speech he made in ending the protest. We were thinking that by now, the implementation of that speech would have been seen very much on ground. Now, between the global reportage, what Nigeria is seeing in public space, as a matter of fact, the global international community, with the implementation as the presidential speech on that day, do you think we are making progress?
Yeah, thank you. If you do analysis of the presidential speech secured to the hashtag EndSars, a lot of issues were raised, and then a lot of promises were made. And one of them was to restructure the police, and then to look at the welfare of the police, increase the salaries of the police force, and then improve their living conditions and then the office environment also. And then they quickly also move on to disband SARS and then also implement, set up the unit, the SWAT team, the Special Weapon Tactical team. Now, they also went ahead to recruit personnel who were there and then asked them to proceed on training, which they're in training by now. And the issue of the salary is not something you can just walk up and say, President, say, salary should be increased so you can go ahead and be done, because you have government policies that at times are very slow. Now, administratively, this has to go through maybe salaries and wages commission for approval, and then so many other things have to follow. You look at the ranking of the police, and then you look at the other areas or allowances that they're supposed to be incorporated in whatever is supposed to be the new package today. So it's not something that you can just jump out at the president that directed the necessary should be implemented, so it should be done. Now, when you also look at the issue of welfare of the police, you cannot just walk up and say, okay, I have improved the welfare of the police in terms of working environment. Now, what they are supposed to do now is to bring in more equipment for the police to work with. We should be able to copy what the foreign nationals have been doing with the police force. Yeah. We should be able to have cameras, body cameras on the operatives who are going out for operations, so that this becomes evidential when the need arises. Then when you look at the reporting of foreign media into Nigerian crisis, you will agree that Nigerian leaders don't like talking to the local press in the country here. I can't remember when even the governor made the speeches that I can say is going to make a press conference to address his own people and give out issues that are of concern to the people. And the president also has never been able to really open himself to the local press here to talk to the citizenry. So we like celebrating the foreign media houses, and that is why CNN2 was able to now capitalize on that and bring out the damaging report that they brought. Now, the military were quick to rush in and deny it, that nothing happened at the toll gate. And the presidential speech promised that they were going to look into the disagreements that arose into this, and those who were found culpable will be punished. And instantly, panels were set up, judicial commissions of inquiry were set up to investigate this. So, by and large, most of the speeches, most of the items raised by the presidential speech have been taken care of that are supposed to be done without wasting time. That has been done. But the back and forth argument between what happens at the city gate, the toll gate in Lagos, and what the military are saying, it depends on what the panel there can come up with, because I was not there and you were not there, and most of the local media houses were not covering this. If the media houses were there covering what these boys were doing at the city gate, would have not been where we are today trying to look for evidence to see whether the army came in there with live ammunition or 70 bodies were killed and removed by the military. But you see that no journalist was there to cover what these boys were doing.
It was not easy to even be there to cover.
Well, for me, it was easy because, yes, if the young men found themselves at the toll gate to be there all through the night until this thing happened, I expected that most major media houses in Nigeria would have covered it. Because
even some of them were burnt down.
Well,
so who would have dared to be there?
They were burnt down as a fallout of what happens at the toll gate, not a issues at the toll gate. When you look at foreign issues, when it comes to issues of strike in other nations, you will discover that the coverage is always live, and then you see them showing whatever these boys were doing. But here, at times, we play to the gallery and we don't do the right thing, and that is why most of the incidents at the Lekki toll gate were unreported until we have started looking for pieces now. We have a lot of handsets that were supposed to be used, but honestly, yes, nobody can stand and start filming when people are shooting inside the crowd or on the air, as it has been purported to have been done by the military. But today, you cannot know the exact truth until the Commission of Inquiry has finished its work. They watch a 3-hour video, they saw what happened there, they look at other evidences that they were able to assemble, they will go to hospitals. But the next question would have been, Why is it difficult for those who are victims of this, their brothers, their sisters, their families, to come forward and give evidence in these panels, so that we will now know exactly who was a victim and who was not a victim? Now, the denier by even the state government in Lagos has come to tell you that at times the information that we give to chief executives is not the correct thing. And that is why, rather than verify, the governor went ahead and said, yes, they were shooting there, but nobody died. And later he came back to say, yes, somebody died. And now we're talking of numbers. How many people died, how many people were not killed. Were people actually killed at the Lekki toll gate? Were people actually shot at the Lekki toll gate? But you can see footages of those when they went to the hospital. Some people were there with bullet wounds. So at the end of the day, when the victims comes forward to now make clarifications, and doctors who attended to them come forward to now justify that the wounds they had.
You are a security expert, and you know so much about investigations and stuff like this. Yes, I wanted to throw a little bit more light on, while an international media house, an international media corporation will have to be the one investigating what has happened within the geographical space of the Federation of Nigeria. And as a matter of fact, that the governor, who is the chief security officer of the state, came out, denied, and then now he has come to accept a bit, if not accepting all of it, that some people actually died. And now that the constitutional right of those citizens that have their rights to protest, and the people who are supposed to protect them were the ones who now shot at them, is what the international community is concerned about. In your own analysis as an expert in security and investigation, what do you think these analysis, the governor coming out to say yes and then later saying no, or saying no first and then saying yes, and then investigations are still on, going to portray to the international community? Do we still have? Are we still very important or serious? Do we look serious in the eyes of the international community?
Well,
do we have integrity? Is exactly what I'm asking.
Well, integrity is relative. It depends on the way you want to measure it. You can't just take one incident in Lagos and say you're going to measure the integrity of the leadership of Lagos State government. Now, the Lagos State government has people that are supposed to be feeding him with security reports of what was going on in Lagos.
Yes.
And he came out to make that statement that yes, nobody died. Obviously, he wasn't there, but somebody told him. Now, the next day he came out to agree that yes, what he said was wrong and somebody died. So, integrity issue, yes, it will be questioning. Why will a governor be so far to speak when he doesn't have the clear facts on the ground? Now, the military came out to also say that it was the governor of Lagos that asked them to intervene. That was the defense gave. And then later the same military now said that they moved in because they were going for an operation around the Lekki area. So when you look at the statements that are coming out, you will come to agree that accountability on the part of the military to the citizenry is not too good. And that is why when incidences of this happened, there will be no time that the army has been bold enough to come out and agree that yes, we've done something wrong and we're sorry. It will take a lot of investigations before they will come to agree. If you look at what happens between the police and the military in Takum, it took them days for them to agree that yes, we were the ones that did this kind of mayhem and killed some police officers who were on legal duty. So it is on the part of you, the citizen, to demand accountability from the military when these incidences happened. We've seen this happen in other countries where the military is held accountable for actions or any actions they have done. Now, if you also look at chief executives of Nigeria, it is to tell you that they have little concern when it comes to the issue of giving correct information to the citizenry. And that was played out in the mind of the Lagos State governor, who went out to tell the whole world what he knew was the best solution to what happened at Lekki toll gate. Now, if you now take the totality of these things together and you want to investigate, you will not start from the Lekki toll gate itself. Why was the light off at that point? Who were the people on duty in the power holding company that supplied them? Then as soon as the incident was over, the lights came back, which means somebody was instructed to do that. You have to get to the point to find out why that light was off at that particular time the shooting started. Now, the next one is you have so many men that came in there in military trucks from the information I received, or whatever, the ones I read. They say 7 trucks. And 7 trucks can be looking at maybe taking about 20 soldiers that came in there, multiply that by 7, you're having about 140. Now, if you have that number of people that come in there, and they have live ammunition and others have bullet, have rubber ammunitions, you'll be assured that even because of stampede, people will still die if they were shooting inside the crowd and people start running. It is possible that you could have some stampede. Now, when you visit the hospitals where these people were taken to nearby hospitals for emergencies, now you have to also look at the doctors who attended to them to find out the kind of wounds they have. Were they wounds that were sustained as a result of gunshot wounds or as a result of stampede?
They said some people fell into the lagoon.
Yes, well, it is possible that others can run and fall into the lagoon because we don't know how far a bullet can pursue you. So when you are running from death, you never can tell. And also it was the night. And it is very difficult when you are running to see water in front of you, you'll be able to distinguish between sand and water in most cases. So it's possible some people fall inside the lagoon. But the cleanup that people have been alluding that Army came back to pack those who were shot, for me is something I find very difficult to believe, because it is not possible to remove 70 dead bodies at once in a hurry within some minutes like that. It's rather unfortunate that the military are the ones that will give you the true perspective of what really happened there. And then those who were at the front line of the Lekki toll gate, they should be bold enough to come forward. But the government has started hunting them by kind of looking at those who were sponsoring this and those who were also active members of this ACO. Remember, one lady saying she has to run away from Nigeria to Canada because of the incidences. So for me, it's to encourage the young men who were there to physically come out and give evidence of what they saw, because that's the only way we can be able to balance the whole truth of what happened there.
Thank you very much, Mr. The Commander. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I am also going to ask you very, very pertinent the consequences of what looked like a very little protest in Lekki and the actions of the military, and what is becoming a controversy today, and then certain judicial panels of inquiries, across the Federation. I wanted to just talk about it just after we have taken a short break. We're going to take a break now so that we can get to see a bit of the reports around, and then we will come back to you, and then you will tell us a little bit about the consequences. Okay. All right, we will go on a very short break to take a look at some reports. Please, take a look.
They were told to get off the streets. They were told to stay at home by the authorities. But the anger and frustration felt by many in Nigeria has spilled into the city of Lagos. It's been building over the course of the past 2 weeks. A protest against an unpopular police unit has turned into something else, a challenge to the government's ability to rule.
This is unnecessary.
And today, in Africa's biggest city, buildings were torched, a bus depot burnt, and a TV station attacked by agitators, forcing the staff to flee.
They started attacking us inside the studio. I had to cut off the show, and we couldn't go up. We can't continue the show right now. I don't even know what to do. Okay.
A strict curfew was introduced by the state government, but the security services have struggled to enforce it. We spoke to a resident of an inner city suburb.
The streets are littered with burnt tires all over, just to hinder the military from free patrol.
What has it been like?
A couple of Nigerian youths are in the hospital currently in pains, suffering from results of straight bullets shot directly to unarmed protesters.
This city-wide uprising was triggered by a military-style assault on demonstrators at their central meeting point at a toll gate in the city. Members of the security services tried to clear it using live rounds.
Sit down, sit down!
Amnesty International says it has credible evidence of fatalities at the scene. However, the state governor who visited some of the 30 or so thought injured, has disputed that.
We are comforted that we have not recorded any fatality as against the widespread circulation on social media.
Youthful demonstrators have been calling for the disbandment of the police's much-despised Special Anti-Robbery Squad, or SARS, and the shooting of protesters has drawn intense worldwide condemnation.
I'm not the kind of guy that talks about politics, but I can't keep quiet anymore for what is going on back home in Nigeria. I would say, Nigerian government, you guys are a shame to the world.
Protesters have returned to the Lekki tollgate in Lagos. It's become a symbol of their movement and the sacrifices they have made. John Sparks, Sky News.
It's been out there are conflicting stories with each other. Nigerians have died. This is not a time to play games. Families are looking for their loved ones. To be honest with you, with regards to me, I don't know how to feel, because in one hand, I'm grateful I'm alive today. In the other hand, I don't know if I should say I'm lucky. It's almost like I'm saying the others were not lucky. It is time that we own up to the things that we're supposed to own up to. The governor has a responsibility to the citizens of Lagos State, and he should say the truth.
Nigeria's president on Tuesday vowed to prevent a repeat of what have been these wider anti-police brutality protests through dialogue and through listening, he says, to all stakeholders. I just wonder, how do his comments make you feel?
So the same government that says that they had banned SARS, and this is going for 4 to 5 years now, they keep banning the same SARS, is saying that he wants to have a dialogue. The president hasn't even come out once to address the shooting at the toll gate. So no, Becky, I do not take his word to heart. We need action, we need change, and most importantly, we need accountability.
You've said about this whole experience, and I quote here, "It is cause for what I believe is just. It is shock at the response of my government towards the people it is sworn to protect. It is courage to speak up no matter what. And for me, the will to see justice, accountability and a change in Nigeria, no matter how much is offered to me or threats to me." Do you believe that change will come? And how long do you think you will need to stay in hiding for?
To be honest, I will start with the fact that the will is there. This generation, as we like to call ourselves, we call ourselves Sorosoke. That means speak up. Unlike the past, where they've oppressed our parents, they've misinformed our parents, because we didn't have social media back then. They owned the media houses, they owned the newspapers. But this is a different generation. And that goes to the end where I said that I believe strongly that Nigeria will change. It's not a sprint, it's a marathon. And now the Nigerian people, especially this generation, they are speaking up. The shock for me was to see that for the first time, something that gave me such belief. I never thought I would see Nigerians come together with the same voice and speak in one voice, demanding change, demanding an end to police brutality. I never thought that our government, first time they're seeing this, would respond in the action with which they did. Seizing the passport of Mo, for example, arresting Neroms, chasing people out of town and literally out of the country. I believe that the fact that I have been given a second chance at this life,
with your leave, Mr. Hollowburn, I think given the events overnight, I just wanted briefly to mention the shocking scenes of brutality and violence that we've seen at the Lekki Toll Plaza. And obviously I hope that the Minister can perhaps share with us the government's response to those shocking scenes, not least because of the strong relationship we have with Nigeria, including with the military and security forces there. Amnesty have said there is credible evidence of excessive use of force leading to the deaths of protesters. It's been condemned by the former US Secretary of State Hillary Clinton. So can he tell us whether he and his colleagues will be urgently speaking with the Nigerian High Commissioner and also their counterparts in the Nigerian Foreign Ministry? It's absolutely crucial given the horrific scenes that we've seen overnight. With your leave, Mr. Hollowburn, I think given the events overnight, I just wanted briefly to mention the shocking scenes of brutality and violence that we've seen at the Lekki Toll Plaza. And obviously I hope that the Minister can perhaps share with us the government's response to those.
Welcome back and thanks for joining us again. This is the Patriot on Television Nigerian. Commander, I want you to address quite very salient issues here. Why is this protest very, very particular for the international community to get attracted to it so much that it is negating the fact that you can hear the spirit of those who are talking at the international media. Now, this is not because the protest is still ongoing, but it is the fact that the protest happened a month ago and it is attracting international community. And then everybody's just waving into it and then talking about issues about it. Why is this protest in particular, EndSars, end brutality? That is the work you were doing before. I don't know. Why is it attracting so much international attention like this?
Yes, thank you so much. My heart actually goes out to those who lost their lives in trying to ensure that accountability is the watchword of the government. And then, just as the lady said, it's the first time Nigerian youths have been able to voice out their misgivings towards an institution of government, mostly the police. Now, I had expected the government to really sit down to review the grievances that the youth tabled before them. Even though there was no leader that came out to say he was in charge of the entire process. I think that was a mistake the youth also made. Now, for the fact that the population of Nigeria is of interest to any nation in the world, will be something that no nation can fold its arm and see Nigeria disintegrate because of the misgivings of a particular section of the services that are supposed to protect the citizenry, which is the police. Now, government in his own national broadcast, the president didn't mention, just as I said, the people that were killed at the toll gate or the incident in the toll gate at all. Government didn't promise to investigate or bring to book those who might have caused pains and death around the toll gate. Now, when you look at those things, and then there was a follow-up press briefing by the Minister for Information in the army barracks again, the same army that the people are saying came to the toll gate. He still went to the same military information to make the press briefing. And people were asking, why will you still choose the same institution that people are accusing of killing people that you are still going there to defend what they have done? Now, technically, you are agreeing with them that yes, what they are saying is what you ask them to do as a government. Now, this is a democratic nation, and we are also among the club of nations that will sit together to also take decisions that affect other countries. So it is not out of place for the whole world to take interest in what is happening in Nigeria, because everybody knows that we have challenges of corruption in the country, and this has affected all the institutions, including the police force. Everybody knows that single infraction with the military will also end into a fight, even with the civilians. Everybody knows that uniform men generally in Nigeria, mostly the police and the army, seem not to be accountable to the citizenry, but they are accountable to government institutions. And if you look at the training that the police also receive with the military, you discover that little is talked about the human rights of those that are supposed to go out and defend. You are only told your professional line of operation and what you're supposed to do when you are facing challenges. Now, that is why it is difficult with the crop of policemen you have today to give you the kind of quality service that the whole world will anticipate a policeman to give. Because mentally speaking, policemen see government officials as their primary duty of responsibility, and then the civilians are just secondary. If you look at the total number of policemen who are doing ad hoc duties that are not professional police duties, carrying umbrellas, aid come to senior government officials, people who are guarding installations, oil installations, and the rest of them, you discover that out of a total number of approximately 400,000 policemen you have today, 200,000 are doing this kind of duties. You have less policemen who are assigned to operational duties. So the international community is not wrong in trying to take interest in what happens there, because one, we have the population that if we have any internal war today, the entire West African sub-region will be in trouble. Now, the economic-wise, we have the larger portion of water boundary with most of the countries. So once we have conflict today, most of the international trade are also going to suffer. So, and we supply a lot of gas for other neighboring countries also. So you have a lot of people who are doing bilateral agreements and businesses with Nigeria. So everybody is taking interest in the investments that they have here. So if you allow Nigeria to have internal crisis today, most of their nationals are going to suffer, their investments they are going to suffer. So that is why.
All right, okay, thank you very much. Yeah, that's beautiful. Because if I allow you to speak, you're just going to blow hot. But on a final note, this is where we're going to wrap up the discussion. Yeah, because our concern here today is the global perspectives of how this protest in Nigeria is viewed.
Yeah.
And the possible sanctions that will come. I asked you the first time if the United Kingdom Parliament, in the first place, had the right to dabble into the internal affairs of Nigeria.
Yeah.
But you said there's nothing wrong, actually. But I have seen protests elsewhere in the world, and it has never been discussed so much like this. And then I also see that the youth have, dared a uniform formation. Yeah, because SARS is, or let me say, a regimental formation or a police unit of the, one unit of the police formation generally. I'm not a police officer, so I may not use the terms right. You better at that. But it would have been the youth against politicians, or the youth against National Assembly, or the youth against something else. But it was the youth against SARS. These are people who are armed, and you dared them and you moved against them for one or two things they have done against the youth. Now, I want you to dissect between how protest is carried out elsewhere in other climes and with what the youth dared to face the SARS. Was it patriotic, or it wasn't patriotic? Or what becomes of the style of protest in Nigeria? As a matter of fact, that the rights of the citizens also is inclusive to protest. And the arrest of these protesters who were seen to be at the helm of affairs, and the peace formation that they want to have, to end the crisis any further. I wanted to just dissect this thing as we close. Thank you very much.
Thank you for asking elaborate questions.
Yeah.
I pray I should have the tenacity to remember all of them.
Yeah.
The first one is that the youth did the right thing in bringing out the long-standing agitations inside them of the police attitude towards the youth. And they've been able now to voice out that they are not comfortable with the way police operate. And for the first time, police too have acknowledged that yes, they have seen it, they are going to also make corrections. So it's a very good thing that they have awakened that spirit in the police force.
That's very correct.
And they are also right to protest. It's the right of every citizen to protest. Once you take a permit or you conduct yourself in the right atmosphere. Now, that is why the police also got it wrong, because you had expected that because they were protesting, you expect the police to provide guide for them, because one of the reasons they were protesting was not just to terminate SARS, it was for them to reform the police. So the police was also give them cover, because they're also Nigerians. As I told you, the number of policemen that are supposed to be doing operational duties are lower than those who are doing this kind of duties. So if you look at the quantum of human beings that were on the streets, it was not possible to bring up policemen who can do this, but at least you expect that at least there would have been units of mobile force that will provide a condom, a kind of a corridor for them to operate and then maintain decorum. They were able to do that themselves, which is also very commendable, until when this shooting started. Then the next day, the hoodlums now took over from where the shooting stopped. Now, if you also look at the reaction of government to our internal crisis by other foreign nations, if you remember Hong Kong, we are also demonstrating that China government wanted now to introduce their levels of security inside Hong Kong to end the long-standing protests that were going on to reform the democratic process there. America, Britain, Canada, so many countries also intervened by ensuring that these things didn't happen. China went on to warn them not to meddle into the internal affairs, that this was a colony of China. So sometimes you can't just sit and watch nations and be stampeded upon by the government of appointees. If you don't have these checks and balances, then you can create monsters within certain governments. And that is what the International Committee is doing, to ensure that democratic processes are enshrined in Africa and then in Nigeria, so that leadership here should know that whatever they are doing, others are watching them. So sanctions, for me, is fine. Now, if you also look at the reaction of other prominent persons in Nigeria, they supported what the youths were doing, condemned what government was doing, and I think it took too much time for the president to react to what was going on, almost 3 weeks. It was a good thing, because it has also exposed the degree of sentiment we have between the North and the South. Because in the North, the whole town was very restive, quiet, except in Kano. And at the end of the day, you discovered that statements were made that because it is our northern leader that is in power, they want to overthrow him. It wasn't issues of overthrow. It was issues of expressing the sentiment that people were going through against the police. And I think the police, at the end of the day, became better off for it, because the president became aware of the reaction of the police towards the citizenry and the challenges the police were going through. So I expect the police to also be happy that they are better off for this kind of a thing. And if you look at the fallout of the EndSars also, you will see that most state governors today have realized that they have been excluding youth from the scheme of things in their states. So it has become a game changer that in the next election, I think a lot of things will happen.
Yes.
So they were very patriotic in what they were doing, because their attitude brought out the awakening spirit in the leadership of the country at the states, local government, and federal level. So for me, patriotism was what they were trying to say.
So what advice do you have for the youth going forward?
Well, my advice for the youth is that they still have an opportunity that is a very big one. Elections are coming in 2023.
That's right.
Most of them should contest and also actively participate in the election. If they can mobilize themselves through just the social media, although I came under barrage of attacks, if they can do this through social media during the elections, I think they will be able to now elect out a lot of leaders that they feel they are not too good. And it is going to be a thing. We'll be happy to see young men who are becoming governors instead of the set of 1999 political graduates that are still there. God, I don't want to go. So I think for me, they should be sent on retirement in 2023 so that young men can take over the annals of power in most of the states and even at the federal level. And the federal government should appoint young men. Because when you look at what they did in using the social media to organize themselves, it was wonderful. You made mention of Anonymous. Now, Anonymous will tell you we are going to hack into an account, and they actually did. Now, that has told you the cyberspace, the challenges that government is exposed to.
Exactly.
So if government was threatened through that kind of an attack, and actually it happened, then we are very vulnerable. So
they said all the numbers of the ministers were all exposed.
Yes, all of them. So it is better for government to now sit down to start investing in security heavily, so that if such threats are coming, they should be able to contain it. But the Anonymous will tell you, yes, we're going to hack into social account, And the next day you see them doing it. They did that to the Minister of Interior, no, the Minister of Information, and it wasn't something so heady. It wasn't. So for me, government should try to look for the anonymous and make sure that
they engage them.
They engage them to now see how they can prevent future occurrences of this and employ them so that they can also stop hiking and then be preventing hiking.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Commander. Commander, we're going to look into that, and anonymous should be engaged by the federal government so that the hackings will not go on again. But you see, all this were all controlled by the young people. They showed just one tip. I think in 2023, they are going to demonstrate it fully. Hopefully. Thank you very much. It's been nice having you to talk with. Thank you very much. This is the much we have for you on this episode of The Patriot. Until next time, be patriotic. Drop a comment and your views. You can also follow us on our social media handles and also sponsor programs on The Patriot by calling on the numbers scrolling on your screen. My name is Peggy Shande, and many thanks for watching.